is bonkers still too. Doug Ford is allowing religious ceremonies to block roadways in major cities in Canada and Ontario, and that's wrong. And Poilievre talks about free speech. He says, "Oh yeah, we're gonna restore free speech, bring it home." Do you think he is? I'm skeptical. It would be good. I would be glad if that's true, because part of the whole rollout of the globalist kind of stuff they're trying to push upon us with COVID and climate change and all of these riots that are obviously funded. The Black Lives Matter riots are the same as the rail blockade riots, are the same as the current Palestinian riots. And also somebody made the comparison of the Khalistani riots as well. Somebody's funding all of this. There's money and motivation behind it. To do what? To destabilize our society, to create a situation where there's so much disorder that we demand a counter response that is as big, at least, and that would be digital ID, right? And obviously it's the action reaction solution. When the public demands a solution, the solution is here. It was what they wanted to implement all the time. Here's your digital ID and central bank digital currency. You're welcome. Now no terrorists will get you, right? Your freedom, your fear has led to your safety and less freedom, right? And that's the point. It's wild. So I don't know. We are being manipulated at a societal level, and people aren't really sure if we're in any kind of conflict, right? So on one side of things, the people who are doing the manipulating know very well what they're doing, and on the other side of things, the public is very confused, and they're not responding appropriately to what's happening to them or us. All right, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We have to start in England. We have to because what's going on in England is so egregious. I don't know that it can stand. People are being sentenced in show trials very rapidly. Like, you got arrested on the 31st, and 3 days later, bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, you are in prison for years. And I'm not even overstating it. And people pled guilty thinking they would avoid prison time, I think, because sometimes you get told that, or that's what they show on the TV shows. I don't know. But you get this offer of, if you accept responsibility for what you did, that'll look good in the court, and the court will, reward that with a smaller sentence. And then these people are hearing a smaller sentence is 26 months. That's 2 years, 2 months. It's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. They want to do this in Canada. They don't have the legal underpinning to do it, but I didn't think the UK had the legal underpinning to do it either. So we may have some law somewhere that they could reimagine and say, this ex post violates this law, and you're going to prison for a long time, buddy. Meanwhile, they're letting out violent criminals for this. So I've got lots of examples of that. Here we go. Sam says they're letting out violent criminals involved in killings to make room for Facebook posters. This guy will have served just 5 months for his involvement in the killing of a 14-year-old. Okay, so this is I don't know what ITV.com is posting this. And it says, the mother of a teenager who died after being stabbed says she feels robbed of justice after one of his killers is set to be freed early because the country's prisons are too full. Gordon Galt, 14, died in hospital 6 days after he was stabbed with a machete during a violent clash in Newcastle's West End in 2022. So the person who did this presumably was arrested, been in prison, right? And now he's out to make room for people who are posting on social media. If your prisons are overcrowded, why would you replace violent criminals with non-violent criminals? And I don't believe that these people I'm about to show you are criminals. They're political criminals, just like the January 6ers, just like the Coots guys. But how does this stand? And how do you fight back against this? If you get thrown in prison by the state, how do you deal with that in a reasonable way? Are you going to be allowed to sue the state after all this? This guy pled guilty. Or there are some that pled guilty. Here's Mario, and he says, man jailed in the United Kingdom for comments on Facebook post about riots. 31-year-old Billy Thompson was sent to prison for 12 weeks after he replied, filthy bastards, on a post about the police issuing a dispersal order to try and prevent the protests from becoming violent. It also included emojis of an ethnic minority person and a gun. His lawyer said Billy had made the comment as part of an online Facebook conversation with a family member. So I don't know if this was a public comment or if he was talking with a family member privately on Facebook, and that's what got him arrested. I honestly don't know. The judge found him guilty of encouraging violence and imposed the sentence to discourage the kind of violent behavior that such messages encouraged. The judge says, quote, "It may be right that the starting point sentence is a community order for this offense, but I'm afraid this has to be viewed within the context of the current civil unrest up and down the country." So this guy's going to jail for 12 weeks, right? And this is a miscarriage of justice. Here is a cabbie in the United Kingdom. Tommy Robinson is sharing this. Amy Meck is the one actually sharing the video. UK police refused to protect Christians. Police let Islamic taxi driver threatening to rape Christians in viral video walk free. So here is just a little bit of this. It says this cabbie will not be charged with a hate crime for this rant, despite the seemingly obvious anti-white sentiment.
This is a message from Chaudhry of Garmala. Any motherfucker wants to convert to fucking Christianity, we're both gonna fuck you up the ass. You fucking understand the pair? Okay,
we'll leave it there. I didn't realize the amount of swearing, so I was brushing my teeth and kind of reading some of that, but I didn't see that part. I saw the F you up but I didn't see the other stuff. Anyway, okay. Apologies. Very, very interesting that that's allowed. That guy's not being arrested for this, for inciting violence or anything like that. But this guy is, right? And so here's another 20-month prison sentence. This guy pled guilty. I'm going to start here, and then I've got something to show you, and then we'll finish off with the sentence being carried out. Mike Benn says, "You don't want to give me the Secretary of State job because at this point I just sever all diplomatic ties with England." And End Wokeness is sharing this video of the magistrate handing down the sentence to the person who posted on social media.
For sentence, having pleaded guilty to an offence of publishing written material which is threatening, abusive or insulting, intending thereby to stir up racial hatred. The context of your...
First of all, sorry, just to break in here, I would have not pled guilty. I would have said, you have to prove that I posted that with the intent of stirring up racial hatred. Prove that. Prove that. I didn't. I posted it because a whole litany of reasons, not one of which was for that reason. And so if you think that I'm going to go to jail because you misinterpreted and don't understand social media, that's not on me, that's on you. But it's insane. This guy's pled guilty.
Offending is that it arises out of the civil unrest and disorder in many parts of the United Kingdom. On the night of the 2nd and 3rd of August, the Britannia Hotel in Leeds was attacked by people who threw missiles which damaged windows. The police were called, and on the 3rd of August the hotel was locked down for the protection of those who were living there. At the time there were 210 occupants, many of whom were foreign refugees and asylum seekers. Similar attacks to the hotel were launched on the 4th of August. The police attended on each occasion, and units were deployed to safeguard the hotel and to provide an increase in the police presence in the area. In between the two attacks, you took to social media in order to encourage others towards participation in the attacks upon the hotel. As is recognised on your behalf, this offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please?
And this is where he gives the sentence. This was sent to me this morning asking if I'd seen Washington Spies, or turn Washington Spies, revolutionary, whatever. This is an AMC fictionalized thing. But I thought the British in this are acting very much like the British currently are acting. It's very interesting. Here's just a little bit of this. I'll turn this down because it'll be too loud otherwise. Here we go.
Authority. We're celebrating your king's victory in New York. We are the beacon of authority, and we bear the burden of that authority.
So there you go. Interesting. interesting. I just thought there was a lot of similarities between the fictionalized British guy and this guy handing down the sentence. Here he is saying, "Stand up, please. Here's the sentence."
The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment. You will serve up to 1/2 of your sentence in custody before you are released on licence. If you fail to abide by the conditions of your licence, you can be returned to prison to serve some or all of the remainder of the custodial term.
Incredible stuff going on in the United Kingdom. Harrison Faulkner says, UK man sentenced to 20 months in prison for social media posts during the race riots. Can you call them race riots? It was the Muslim guys going out, armed Muslim guys going out looking for British people who were a hoax. They didn't exist. They were dreamed up by Britain's version of the anti-hate network, and they admitted that it was a hoax. So why are these people being imprisoned? This is insane. He says they are now doing kangaroo court show trials in the United Kingdom to silence dissident voices. Yeah, this is all to tell you as a citizen, don't you dare notice this, and if you notice it, don't you say anything because we'll throw you in prison. Right? Mike Benz says 3.5 years in prison for a young kid. The judge nailed him for using fire emojis and using the colloquial saying, "Let's go." So pretty wild. The post included a screenshot of another message inciting action against named immigration solicitors in Northampton, including a time and a place where highlighted several fire emojis were present and the words "no more immigration" and "mask up," along with your added comment. The original post was deleted or removed, so I have a screenshot instead. Your words were added. Your words added were "let's go." A similar screenshot was posted by you 6 hours later on the same day with numerous hashtags, this time including immigration, asylum, and riots. And Prof. Francois Bellou says this tweet led to a 38-month prison sentence. It's expressing vile sentiments and qualifies as incitement to racial hatred. Though this is an account with 130 followers, it attracted 9 likes and didn't go viral. This represents an interesting judicial precedent. 9 likes, and you're going to prison, buddy, for at least 38 months. He says. So that's almost 4 years, right? So. Mass deportations now. Set fire to all the hotels full of the bastards for all I care. If that makes me racist, so be it. So the crackdown is incredible. And I mean, I don't agree with setting fire to places. Arson is never the answer. When the rabid left guys were standing there saying it's a mostly peaceful protest, and somebody said, arson is not peaceful. They were like, well, it depends on what you're lighting on fire. And so it's interesting how similar the very far left and the very far right are. But I don't agree with arson. I think you can just deport them and have personal consequences for the people who refuse to be deported, and use the country and diplomacy, the other country and diplomacy as a way to get things done. But you don't need to set things on fire, right? But I understand people's anger and frustration, absolutely. Here's another one. Northants Police says a 26-year-old man has been sentenced to 3 years and 2 months in prison after he pled guilty to publishing written material to stir up racial hatred. They continue and say, this case is not an example of preventing freedom of speech, as a small minority of people will claim. It is about standing up for what's right and protecting our communities from fear of violence. After all, freedom of speech is not freedom to spread racial hatred. I fear that these police officers are not looking at this through the right lens. Cillian says, wow, people who attend protests opposing migrant crime in Britain will be arrested and refused bail. Keir Starmer is turning Britain into a communist state in record time. This is dystopian. And the article says, you will be refused bail even if you only watched riots from the sidelines, judge warns. If you turn on the television after 11 o'clock, you're going to prison, buddy. How dare you? Whether active participant or curious observer, anybody involved in disorder will be locked up, Belfast court is told. So that's incredible, right? Quite possibly the most 1984 headline to date. You will be refused bail even if you only watch the riots from the sideline, a judge warns. So that's incredible. Wall Street Silver shares this Solzhenitsyn quote, a Marxist system is recognized by the fact that it spares the criminals and criminalizes political opponents. So, right, do we understand what's going on yet, everyone? Victoria police say a repeat offender was able to target the same business twice in one day. And yes, he's already back out on bail again, just another day in Canada. So this kind of stuff is happening. And if you notice, and you talk about it, whoa, buddy, you are worse than the offender who continues to terrorize this store, right? So if the Marxist system is recognized, we can understand that we are under a Marxist system when it spares the criminals, so it continually lets criminals out on bail to terrorize stores, and criminalizes political opponents. Anybody who watched these race riots, and the race riots were armed gangs of Muslims versus Brits who said no more immigration. The government has created this situation, and now they're throwing people in jail for noticing that they've created this situation. It is a very, very scary situation to be in. It's not good. It's very bad. And well, it continues to get worse. The Guardian says his rhetoric has made Tesla toxic. Is Elon Musk driving away his target market? So the Guardian's going after Tesla and tying Musk to Trump, because when you have somebody that the public is primed to hate, you can transition that hate by just showing another person alongside them. And then all of a sudden that hate gets transferred. Trump, Musk, Musk, Trump, rah, orange man bad, orange men bad, right? And that's how it's supposed to transfer. It's pretty wild. It's a similar way. Alex Hormozy talks about this. He says, if you're the face of your business and you want to transition out of that, you bring in another guy and then you do videos with the other guy, and then you do some videos and he does some videos, and then he does more videos than you, and then you stop doing videos, right? And then that transitions your audience slowly. It's a pass off, right? See what's going on? It's the same principle applied. And it's just transition of hate rather than transition of trust from one brand face to another, right? Transition of hate from one brand face to another. And they're trying to, if you go on Reddit, apparently everybody hates Tesla and everybody hates Elon Musk. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, everybody loves Elon Musk on Reddit. Everybody loves Tesla on Reddit. It's the manipulation is we shouldn't be so reliant on the way the wind blows online, because it is controlled 100% by powers that be above Reddit. It's not the hive mind of Reddit. I mean, some things are the hive mind of Reddit. Some things are the hive mind of 4chan. Some things are, the internet is capable of incredible things. Putting humans together, they're capable of incredible things. But the corporate powers that be, including China through Tencent on Reddit, and other examples of owning, like the Washington Post is Amazon's. So like there's all sorts of other things, and they have a vested interest in making sure it's like it's like they have the laser pointer and we're the cat, and they have a vested interest in, I don't know, distracting us, because they're extracting our production, as well as they're taking on the back end as well as the front end, and they don't want us to notice, so they distract us with a laser pointer. And the laser pointer is Reddit, and the laser pointer is the Washington Post, and the laser pointer is these bullshit fights that get started back and forth. It's Keir Starmer cracking down on people who otherwise would not be cracked down upon. Like it's hard to prove your intent. It's hard to prove that I intended to stir up racial hatred. That's hard to prove. It's your opinion maybe, but prove that that's what I intended, right? Like it's different, and the bar is high, right? And politically ideological judges shouldn't be throwing people in prison for their assumptions. Okay, back to the tabs. Ian Miles Chong says, the BBC journalist says Elon Musk is destroying his reputation by saying he supports freedom of speech. Reminds me of 1984. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Elon Musk says the BBC has already lost its reputation. It's become British Pravda. So yeah, the Pravda is truth, I think. And so is it. So, and it's been long used with news and propaganda and all of that. So yeah, Pravda is not good. Alberta Leonidas says, where's the CPC on the state threatening the people in the United Kingdom? I haven't seen much. I haven't seen Pierre Poilievre talking about it too much or anything like that. He does talk about freedom of speech early in this show. I'm sure we've got it early. But I don't think he really mentions anything to do with England. So we'll just have to wait on that one. And here's the last one. I think these videos are done. The reason these guys are in the background is this guy's doing a video for these guys' communities, right? But where's the video for the British communities assuring them that they won't be arrested for misunderstood Facebook posts or anything like that? There isn't them, right? Those videos don't exist, but these videos exist, and that's weird, right? But that's the reason they're saying salam alaikum at the beginning. It's still weird. Here we go.
Hello, salam alaikum. My name is Phil Hutchinson and I am the Superintendent for Greater Manchester Police based in Oldham. Obviously echo everything that the leader, Rouge, has said. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting us and arranging the meeting. It's the inaugural meeting. We're having these now bi-monthly, so in respect to what Rouge has mentioned about some increased tension, obviously there are a number of issues going on nationally and within Greater Manchester. We're engaging with all communities, and Greater Manchester Police and UK policing will continue to deal with perpetrators and people who are committing crime.
So they don't work for you. They don't work for the citizens who they used to work for. They now work for Rouge and the leaders in that community, right? Because they're not doing videos for the general public. They're doing videos for subset communities that they're tasked with protecting from the public who have seemed to sour on them, right? Don't worry, guys. We're dealing with that unrest. We're throwing them in prison. Weird, right? Pretty wild stuff. Melanie Jolie says Canada fully supports the efforts from the US, Egypt, and Qatar towards reaching a ceasefire and a hostage deal. This human suffering must come to an end now. We urgently need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. So that was yesterday at 3:09 p.m. No mention, as far as I've seen, of what's going on in England. No mention of anything else, really. And it seems, again, like a distraction. Our government is not serious. They're not taking anything seriously. And we are forced to be distracted and have the government distracted by the globalist wars that are going on. And I mean, they're part of it all, right? They're enthusiastically giving money to Ukraine to prolong that conflict. They're enthusiastically talking about Israel, Gaza, as if they have some kind of say in the region. And the fact is they don't, right? They don't run Israel. They don't run Gaza. And we don't send enough money to have any real clout. I wish they'd focus on Canada because that's their job. But they're globalists, and their job is actually to hand over Canada to the globalists, which the globalists are quite happy with the success of the Liberal Party so far, right? And I mean, I think the Conservatives coming in will be a change of pace a little bit, but no less being handed over to the United Nations One World Globalist Order. Michael Chong is doing the same thing. So if you think that the Conservatives are any different, they're not. He's focusing on Venezuela instead of Canada. And he says, Globe and Mail editorial, Canada needs to call out Venezuela's stolen election. So Maduro survived the coup, and it seems that he's retained leadership, and he is continuing to represent Venezuela, and they're continuing to, I think Venezuela is joining BRICS and all sorts of other things like that. So all of that is interesting to me, and Michael Chong being on the side of we should replace Maduro. It's our responsibility to replace Maduro. Did he miss that there's Chinese traitors in our government now? Like, if we can't fix our country, how can you fix your country? It's like finding out that your maid, her house is an absolute mess, right? It's like, how can you fix my house? If your house is, do you know how to clean? Like, it's, not everybody has a maid. I don't even have a maid. But if I had a maid, I would expect her house to be clean. Or his house to be clean. I don't think I'd have a male maid. Maybe I would. I don't think I'd have a maid. How's that? Okay. Nintin says, streets are for public commute. Why is it even being allowed? Any statement from the mayor's office? I would have a maid. My dream is to have a staffed house. That would be great. But I'd have a head of house like Mr. Carson, and then he'd deal with all the rest of it. I wouldn't want to have to, like do the details. But I'm not that rich yet. But that's the stretch goal. That would be great. And, and you say, Carson, I'd like a sandwich. And then he brings you your peanut butter sandwich. I think I might underuse the staffed house. Anyway, I can't believe that this is happening. I mean, I can believe that this is happening, but this is a show of force in the same way that the Muslim guys standing behind the police officer is the show of force. These guys are praying on the street, and people are upset. And, well, this tweet kind of encapsulates it well. Streets are for the public commute. Why is this being allowed? Any statement from the mayor's office? any statement from the mayor's office would be, if you make a statement that is against or that is in any way against this, you will be arrested and sent to England. Like, here are these guys watching a bunch of Muslims pray in the middle of the street. And is this like right downtown Toronto, like Yonge and Bay? Here we go. So there you go. If you had a bunch of Christians who decided that they were going to hold a little bit of a sermon or anything like that in the middle of the street and they shut down the street, do you think that the police would be standing there allowing them to do it? Amused says Muslims in Canada are now praying in the roads. You guys might have a problem. Yeah, we know. Thanks. Yeah, we know. I've seen the hubcap. Yeah, I know. I've got. Yeah, thanks. Pierre Poilievre says another government bureaucracy threatens to ban a Canadian from participating or practicing his profession because he expressed political opinion the state doesn't like. Now they force him to undergo a political re-education. Bring home free speech for Jordan Peterson and everyone else. So he's talking about this, but I haven't seen him talk about England. And the England stuff's been going on for enough days that I've done 3 full shows about it. You'd think somebody in Canadian politics would have something to say about what's going on in England, right? Because it's so drastically different than what's traditionally gone on in England. And jailing people over Facebook posts seems out of step with our freedom, etc., right? Our freedom of speech that was based on the Magna Carta that was birthed in England, right? No? Michelle Fernier, who is an MP, she tried to join a Facebook group and the Facebook group said no. And so she's an MP from Peterborough, Kawartha, and an admin declined your request to join Concerned Citizens of Peterborough. Feedback: I don't feel like this group is what you're looking for. We are a progressive group looking for community solutions. Your profile indicates that you are supporting the CPC. There are other groups that would be better suited. If you feel that I've made a mistake, feel free to let me know. And Michelle Ferrier says, the radical left, you aren't willing to listen. You don't believe in inclusivity. Also the radical left, we don't want to talk to you unless you think the same as us. Yep, they discredit themselves because they're childish and their standards are inconsistent. Adam Zivo says a lesbian couple was targeted by a group of 7 to 10 men in an appalling homophobic attack, but the incident received very little national media coverage. Perhaps that's because the assailants were allegedly Middle Eastern. 7 to 10 Middle Eastern men attacked 2 lesbian women, and the story disappeared very quickly. Why? Because it destroys the narrative, right? And if it destroys the narrative, or if it threatens the narrative, then it has to be swept under the rug, just disappeared. The most important thing is the narrative. The most important thing is not the LGBT community. The most important thing isn't even the immigration or the men that are coming in and threatening these people. Nobody cares about either of those details. The only thing that matters is that the general public doesn't see that these men who are coming in don't share the values of the country, so say, that they're entering, right? And so it's very, very interesting how this is now something that people can talk about. And there are more than one person talking about this. There was like 2 or 3 people citing this article and talking about how, the homophobic attack you didn't hear about in Canada. And I think that it's disingenuous. I think it's interesting to note that all of a sudden it's okay to talk about this. All of a sudden, like, this is green lit. Why? Like, what's the purpose behind that? And it reminds me of when the Danforth shooter happened. That was a powder keg, and if it got reported the wrong way, like honestly, it would have gone off. But because it got reported dishonestly through mental health and all sorts of details trickling out, it being called misinformation and so on and so forth, it was diffused because the public didn't understand what happened until much later. And then once they understood what happened, it was too late to do anything. Kind of like COVID. And they're still trying to rev COVID up. The other day, moving on very briefly, but not really, like grab bag of governance. So this is kind of the last one. They're trying to destroy the airline industry. And I made the point the other day to somebody I was talking to, that if they walked up to the airline industry CEOs, and they were like, listen, we're going to destroy your industry. We're going to shut down your industry over the next 10 years. Cool. every one of them would say no, and they'd have a whistleblower, and they'd, you know, there'd be some kind of press battle, there'd be some kind of something, it would be a big deal, people would be yelling and screaming, you can't shut down this industry, well, we have to because of climate change, blah 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 blah, and you lose that argument, right? Like, you lose that argument. So they know they lose that argument, so what do they do instead? They go after the plane manufacturers, and they make the planes unsafe to the point where the public does not have confidence in the planes. Just the big ones, not the little ones, not the private jets, right? The big ones, right? The big 747s, the passenger jets. You go after those planes. And then once people have lost confidence and stopped flying, the airplane companies retool to serve who? The ultra-rich elites whose planes don't keep crashing. And everybody's happy, and nobody has questions, nobody's fighting. The fight's already won, right? They know what they want to do. One other quick aside before I show you this video. My wife and I were talking about going to, I think it was Jamaica or something like that. We were talking about different, pricing out vacations for next year and seeing what works better, right? Is it better to drive to a southern destination, or is it better to go to an all-inclusive in like Jamaica or Cuba or something like that? What's more cost effective, and so on and so forth. And so we were talking about that, and I was making I was saying I prefer to drive because have you seen all these planes falling out of the sky? Like, that's not so good. And this was before I'd seen this video, and she agreed with me. And what was the point I was going to make? Hold on a second. We were going to watch Mayday. That's why we were going to watch Mayday, and we got, I don't know, into reading the short synopsis of each episode, and I was like, nope, we're not watching Mayday. If there's a shadow of a chance that I'm going to get on a plane going to anywhere, I don't want to watch any of these episodes. They all sound terrifying and awful. Speaking of terrifying. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful